To make a long story short, I, female 25, am a medical student. My free time is very limited, and I have lots and lots of commitments. My sister, 33, has 3 kids, all under 10, and she often expects me to babysit for her, which isn't the main problem, but she drops them off at random times with very short notice or no notice. The other day, she called saying she was on her way to drop the kids off at my place because she was attending her friend's child-free wedding and she couldn't take the kids with her. I had a massive argument with her on the phone because I had to study for my upcoming exam, but the next thing I knew, the kids were at my doorstep and she was already back in the car and then drove off with her husband. I was so angry I couldn't handle it. I decided to get dressed 30 minutes later and take the kids right where their mom and dad were. I drove them to the wedding at her friend's house and had them go in. The men tried to stop the kids until my sister and her husband came rushing. My sister was shocked. She started shouting after me, but I quickly got into the car and drove off. I went home and she started calling me. After she realized I wasn't going to pick up, she sent a few texts calling me unhinged and a witch for putting her into this situation and embarrassing her in front of her friends. She mentioned that by bringing the kids to the child-free wedding, I disrespected her friend, which affected their relationship and caused her and her husband to go home and miss out on the rest of the wedding. Her husband called later and I picked up, thinking he'd speak to me rationally like he always does, but he scolded me, saying that it wouldn't hurt if I kept the kids for a few hours, and then expressed how disappointed he was and how selfish and petty I was to do this to my sister and her kids. Now I wonder if I should have just sucked it up for a few hours. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You were very nice to them. The other option would have been to call CPS. Tell your sister and her husband, a lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. They presumably had months to figure out childcare arrangements and chose to dump them with you last minute, with no regard for your personal life, and then run away and get mad when you return their kids to them. Weddings are not spontaneous events. They had plenty of time to prepare, which should have included organizing childcare. Instead, they knew they had an event to go to and failed to inform you until the day of. They are incredibly inconsiderate, and they have the nerve to scold you afterward. They're trying to blame you for the direct result of their actions. They don't care about your feelings, so stop caring about theirs. Yes, they knew they had a child-free wedding to go to for months, but she didn't ask because OP would say no. Guess what? They aren't your kids. You know you could have dropped them off at the local police station and explained that someone dropped them off at your door and let CPS deal with it. This is a seriously nuclear option, a dramatic escalation. I think that would be incredibly traumatizing for those poor kids. The parents may deserve that, but the kids don't. OP, you dumping the kids at the wedding isn't any better. I get that you have other priorities, and right now those kids are trapped in an abusive cycle that you're part of. The correct path that deals with the problem while being minimally disruptive to the wedding would have been to leave the kids in the car and go into the wedding yourself, or talk to the people at the door to get them to bring out your sister and brother-in-law to deal with the situation. Who loses the most in this situation? The kids and the couple getting married. Both you and your sisters are idiots to the people around you, and that isn't okay. Anyone who drops their kids off somewhere without permission and then runs away is a garbage parent. If her friend was disrespected, it was her fault, not OP's. She did nothing wrong. Never babysit again. Your sister disrespects your life and commitments because she feels hers is more important. Until now, you agreed with her. Unfortunately, her husband is your sister's enabler, and your breaking of the shackles doesn't benefit him. He could be better. He chooses not to. Good luck with your exams. You fought for your study time. Get the grades you deserve, and don't allow your sister to be an obstacle one moment longer. I own a cottage on a lake. It's been in my family forever, but when my grandmother wanted to sell it, no one in the family was interested except for me. It's a beautiful old A-frame with a massive deck, and I also have a small dock. I love spending time out there, but I work in the city, so I use it to generate income. I rent it out over the summer, and I even got renters over the winter. My area has excellent cross-country skiing, and the ice fishing is great. No, I'm not advertising. My brother asked me if his family could use the cabin for 1 week this summer for their vacation. I checked which weeks it wasn't rented out and offered him the cabin. My mom told me he didn't make a lot of money this year, so I didn't charge him. But I insisted on all the paperwork being filled out, liability waivers and insurance, that sort of thing. Well, on the last day, I got a call about a small fire in the kitchen. He sent me some pictures, and it was pretty minor, maybe $3,000 to fix. Accidents happen, and that's why I have insurance. So I told him I was glad no one got hurt and that I'd take care of it. Lucky for me, I didn't have a booking for the next week, so I sent my handyman to do a cleanup, repair, and repaint. I ended up having to replace the stove. It was old, so I'd have to replace it in the next few years. Then yesterday, my son, who's in school in another province, sent me a video. My 2 nephews were doing some TikTok challenges. It isn't in a video, but they're playing with flammable stuff in the kitchen sink and area. They were the ones who set the kitchen on fire. I was livid. I had been told it was a grease fire. I called my brother and asked him to explain exactly how the fire started. He lied. I told him I had the video and that I knew his kids were playing with fire in my house. I told him that he had to pay for all the repairs and replace the stove. He said I was being unreasonable and that I had already told him he didn't have to pay. I told him if he didn't pay, I was going to report an arson. He called our mom and told her that I was taking food out of his family's mouth. She called me a selfish idiot for going back on my word. I explained that he lied and her grandchildren had set the fire. She says they're just kids and that I make enough money off her parents' vacation home. In the end, she paid me the money and said that it meant she wouldn't be able to help out my brother with anything for a couple of years. I don't think I'm wrong, but maybe, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Yes, accidents happen. My usual policy with accidents is the guest should offer to pay and the host should decline. However, this was not an accident. This was gross negligence. There is a difference. He also deceived you about the cause of the fire. You were willing to let him off based solely on your belief that this was an accident. However, his kids were doing something stupid, grossly negligent and dangerous, and very disrespectful of your property, and he lied to you about that. Hit him up for every penny, and don't invite them back. When you found out that the fire was deliberately set, it's pretty likely that insurance wouldn't cover it and that you'd have to pay out of pocket. You shouldn't be expected to lie to the insurance company after knowing the truth and commit insurance fraud. Sorry, no insurance coverage means that bro has to pay. Your perspective is entirely reasonable. I make enough money off her parents' vacation home. That's rich considering she didn't want it and you bought it, so it's your vacation home. Since the mother is so adamant that the brother not pay, then she should pony up. People like OP's mother cry about doing things for family, but that always seems to apply to other family members and not themselves. A lot of resentment there that the scapegoat child is doing so much better than the golden child and was able to afford to buy grandma's house. His financial situation is not your issue, and it sounds like he constantly runs to mom for money and guilts her into it. OP, I wouldn't let your brother or mother rent the house either. There seems to be a general attitude of, OP can afford it, so why should I be careful or treat it like a stranger's rental? My daughter, Amara, 22, recently had her first child. Unfortunately, I missed the birth, and a lot of drama has gone down since. Amara had a problematic pregnancy pretty much from the beginning. Around the 28-week mark, the doctor said she might be able to make it to 40 weeks, but there's a chance she could deliver early. We, myself, my husband, my eldest daughter, Katie, 25, Amara, and son, all had a trip planned to an island around the time Amara would be 36 weeks pregnant. However, when the doctor told us she might not make it to 40 weeks, Amara chose to stay home so as not to risk going into labor on the island. A little backstory. The father of Amara's baby isn't in the picture. She's doing this alone. The plan was for me to support her in the delivery room, and she asked me to please stay home from the trip. I said I'd go, but come home if anything changed. Katie decided to stay home with her, So my husband and our son headed off on our trip. Well, the hurricane hit, and all ferries were suspended. That same day, Amara went into labor. We were stuck, with no way of getting back to her. Katie was by Amara's side as she gave birth. There were further complications, but thankfully both she and the baby are okay. I got home a few days later and got to meet my granddaughter. Amara barely looked at me. The original plan was for me to stay at her place for a couple of weeks to help her adjust, but she told me not to bother. She said she asked me not to go for this very reason, saying she needed me, and I put a vacation above her. Katie's now staying with her and is also angry with me, saying Amara was so scared and could have died. I pointed out that I tried to come back and couldn't have predicted the hurricane. They both said I still chose to go, and even said that if I had rushed back on a ferry, I'd still likely have missed it. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Why on earth would you plan to take your daughter to an island during hurricane season in her 9th month? What is wrong with you? Thankfully, Amara had her sister. Had Katie not stayed with her, she would have been entirely alone and afraid during the complicated delivery of her first child. You knew the hurricane was coming and arrived 5 days before it hit. You did prioritize the vacation. It wasn't 3 months before, just mere weeks before the due date. You didn't even evacuate as it got closer for your own safety or to ensure you'd be there for the birth. Of course the ferries were suspended when the hurricane hit. I can't believe this is the excuse you're using. In all honesty, you knew the hurricane was coming. You knew there was a risk of being stuck, and you didn't care. And Katie probably volunteered to stay because Mom was not there. The sensible thing would have been for Mom to stay back and let Katie go on vacation. I remember I had my daughter at 24 weeks, and I almost died. My mom instead went on a camping trip and refused to see me or visit me or even make sure I was doing okay. The hurt I have in my heart 2 years out will never go away. When your baby has a baby, all they want is their mama. Your daughter could have died, and even knowing that you chose to go on a vacation, you should have rescheduled the vacation when you learned she'd be 36 weeks pregnant and needed you to be there with her. You really should have rescheduled when you found out she was high risk and might deliver early. She needed you, and you weren't there because of your own poor planning. Sadly, what's done is done. You have to live with any guilt you have and can only do your best to be supportive going forward. I am 22 now and currently working as a software programmer. The pay is good, but due to the nature of my job, I gained a lot of weight. I don't like sports and other exercises, such as jogging and cycling. They really don't motivate me. To overcome this, I worked as a cleaner at the local mall for 5 hours per day on Saturday and Sunday. I worked from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the weekend. I do various tasks such as cleaning the windows, mopping the floor, sweeping the floor, etc. The pay's not bad, to be honest, and the best thing is after working for 2 months, my weight is finally reduced by 10 pounds. My supervisor at the cleaner job is really good, and he always treats us with nice things, like food or movie tickets. I made a lot of friends, too, from various backgrounds. Since I work near my neighborhood, many people I know will see me cleaning in the mall. Thus, they began to gossip that I had lost my other job. I actually faked my degree, and I had gambling debt, so I needed to work 2 jobs. My parents don't really like this and advised me to stop my cleaning job as I'm affecting my own reputation and image. Even my smaller sibling got teased by saying that their brother worked as a cleaner and was low class. Even some friends don't want to be with me anymore because I'm a cleaner. When they see me in the mall, I say hi, and they act like they don't even know me. I told my parents I like my job and it benefits my health. I told them not to care about the gossip. They're not good people. I say as long as what I do is legal, what rights do they have to look down on me? Am I the idiot for keeping my cleaning job and causing my family to handle the shame of me working as a cleaner? Not the idiot. You found a gym that pays you to work out rather than you paying for it. That's genius. We as a society need to drop this attitude. There is nothing low class about any job that needs to get done. If anything, I respect these workers more than the idiots in suits doing jack to help anyone. If you're doing what you like, Don't listen to those who try to cut you down rather than lift you up. You found a way to exercise and get paid for it. That shows a lot of initiative. And you have the bonus of working with people you like. Sorry that many around you are so judgmental. Growing up, my in-laws would not allow their children to have pets. They said it was because mother-in-law was allergic. So I grew up with two giant slobbering beasts, my brothers. The three of us each had a dog. We lived on a working farm, which was expected of us. I met my wife at university, and the first time I met her parents, she made me wash everything I was going to wear and keep it separate from my other clothes so it wouldn't affect her mom. Long story short, her mom just hated animals, not allergic at all. We had to give her a ride home one day in an emergency. My dog had been in my car. She didn't have any reaction, so I asked her if she was okay since she had dog hair on her. She admitted the truth. I guess she was hurt by a dog when she was a kid and told everyone she was allergic because it was easier than just saying she hated dogs. We have 2 children, and unfortunately, the complications from our last child means that she'll be our last child unless we adopt. Our baby just went into grade 1, and my wife works from home. She's lonely during the day, and she said she wanted a dog. So I got her a dog, one that she's researched and approved of. He has hair rather than fur, so he won't shed too much. We got him from a rescue, and he seems very happy to be home with us. Our kids also like him very much. My mother-in-law is angry that, knowing her allergies, I would get a dog. She won't be able to come over to the house or have the kids come over because they will basically be covered in dog fur and dander. It took everything I had not to call her a liar, but I held my tongue and just let it slide. Now I hear her other kids saying that I'm keeping her away from her grandchildren and that I should get rid of the dog before my wife and kids get too attached. I want to tell them all that their mom lied, but my wife made me promise I would not. For the record, my wife already loves that mud. Not the idiot. You gained a dog and lost a mother-in-law. Fair swap. Faking an allergy to get your way has got to be one of the most pathetic and manipulative behaviors out there. That's next-level gaslighting. Enjoy your dog. Personally, I think the rest of the family needs to know what a liar your mother-in-law is. How many would love to get a dog but have been depriving themselves because of that woman? I don't get why you're not allowed to reveal the truth about mother-in-law. That's a serious problem. Why keep the truth hidden? She's a liar and looks like a victim. You're the good one, and you look like the bad guy. Call her bluff. She's a liar. She obviously doesn't want to see her daughter and grandkids bad enough yet. Give her a few more months and her allergy will resolve itself. Then mother-in-law will be fine visiting her other kids in their dog-free homes. But sorry, your wife is the idiot. If your wife knows your mom isn't allergic and is allowing your mother-in-law to spread lies about you, then why isn't she defending you? Sorry, she needs to end the lie and just tell your in-laws the truth so that all this hate can be directed at your mother-in-law where it belongs.